Recently, Le Mans Ultimate got a tyre update for their GT3s. A lot of people have said that it's been bad, and a few people I've seen actually like it. So today I'm going to see how good the tyres actually are from just a driving perspective, not a realism perspective, and also see how they compare to some other sims like Automobilista 2, which is the main focus of this channel. So let's jump into Le Mans Ultimate and see how everything feels. Okay, so now we're in the car, and something which I did before I had to restart everything was try and see how it feels coming out of the pits. And I can tell you, it's a lot easier to spin now, which I see as a positive. Now, I would just say I haven't spent a lot of time with my FFP settings, so that grip loss feeling can be maybe not as clear as it should be. But when just going straight out the pit, when being in the pit, I felt like that line, edge of grip, I don't fully feel it in the FFB, but I can understand that there is something there. I can understand that there is a grip, that there is one. But we're mostly going to look for oversteer in this video, because understeer we already know is quite a large thing in this sim. It seems like there's more understeer. So let me just try and drive like I would have done before. Spin there, that's interesting. Yeah, the cars definitely feel different. Now let's try through the hairpin, because through the hairpin is where if I remember correctly, I had a few comments about pulling out of the corner. Yeah, the brake performance still feels very good in a straight line, and if we just on the throttle. Okay, so that push thing is still there, but in a weird way it feels less clear that it just pulls out of the corner. I still feel like I have a lot of grip when going on throttle. So yeah, in reality, I don't really feel like the tires feel too different. They seem to have more understeer, but then fully not more oversteer. But I remember there are a lot of comments about this with oversteer, saying that it's more pronounced, or it's easier to spin and you don't fully understand why. But I feel like the issue is that a lot of people try to drive the old way. It feels like with these cars, you can't maybe chuck them in as hard, even though you can still chuck them in quite hard.
Time 2:20.89.
It's a very interesting thing to think about, that it feels like it could be a certain driving style which has made the tires feel worse. Okay, yeah, so like out there, I thought that I would say is not an unreasonable spin, because I felt like I was pushing it quite hard through there, and I was on the edge with if that would actually be able to. I would actually be able to do that. So yeah, I understand that. So I would say, in reality, from just driving these a little bit, the tires don't actually feel worse. They feel more realistic. I know I don't know everything feels in reality, but from my point of view, these handle a lot more like how I would expect a real car to handle. Yeah, like through there. And now that the tires are heating up, yeah, definitely. Now this sim feels really nice because there is this more pronounced edge of grip and you don't just have unlimited grip. So yeah, I would say this update feels very nice. But we obviously have to see how they feel when a bit hotter. So if we just keep driving a little bit, then we can see how everything feels. But just so far they feel real good. I feel like Automobilist Racer should listen a little bit to this, because I feel like sometimes with the traction control it's maybe not as effective as I would expect it to be in Automobilista 2, and before this felt a bit more. Though the ABS, I don't know, that can be realistic. Yeah, but I think that's a bit realistic, but maybe the ABS in Automobilista 2 seems more reasonable, whilst the traction control in this sim feels a bit better. So yeah, the cars feel very reasonable. That I should say instead of realistic, reasonable. And if it correlates to my view of real life, and it really does now, because when you just go exit corners, you can't just stamp on the throttle like that in the situation where you expect it to be able to, but then if you try and push it a bit too hard, you get pulled out like that, or you spin. So I feel like the tires now feel really nice. And if this is what they're changing with all the other cars in the game, then I feel like this will actually become really good. Because my main complaints, if you've seen any of the other videos, were that the tires felt like they had unlimited amounts of grip. Because with here, they do not feel like that. They feel a bit more realistic, I should say, or a bit more reasonable. Yeah, you can't fully push the ABS. But still, I would say that the ABS in Automobilista 2 is a bit better. It feels more reasonable. I love how... I remember a few people were talking about like how you get that shaking of the steering wheel when braking to give like that sense of a wiggliness. I don't know how realistic that is, but that feeling feels really nice. I know there's some wiggling, maybe not. I'm maybe not doing the best comparison. Okay, through there it felt a bit weird, but it could have been the tires. Could have been me, but that felt a bit odd. But talking about just that wiggling of the brakes, I feel like that can be a bit realistic, because in my moped, my scooter, it sometimes in a few situations I can feel the handlebars shaking a little bit on the braking. So I feel like that's actually a bit realistic. Okay, so yeah, I mean that doesn't seem too unreasonable, because I just spun and had a big crush, and then I have less grip. So yeah, I feel like the tires do feel kind of good. So let me just jump to my verdict and we will see. So, what do I think about the new tire update to Le Mans Ultimate? Well, if we just start by saying it feels like the edge of grip is a lot more pronounced, even though it was very pronounced for locking up the brakes with cold tires, that situation is even more pronounced now, which is quite a good thing in my opinion. And then you also have the oversteer, which feels a lot more reasonable, where in situations where you're actually pushing and it feels like you're going to spin, you do actually. That feels very nice. Though in some situations, when the tires get a little hot, it feels like maybe the tires aren't hot enough for certain things to happen, even though they do, which can be a bit weird. But if you analyze the situation a bit, it maybe wasn't so unreasonable. So in conclusion, the tires, do they feel better? Yes. Do they feel more like Automobilista 2? Yes. Would I say that the cars are as good as Automobilista 2? It depends. On traction control, I feel like they are more reasonable in LMU, but when braking and also cold tires overall, I feel like Automobilista 2 is a bit more reasonable, since it feels like all tires have less grip, low grip when cold in Automobilista 2, whilst in LMU it still feels like only the front tires have issues with low grip. But what do you think? Comment down below. And while you're down there, please hit the like button and also subscribe. My next video, we'll have to see what it's on. It can be a triple monitor review of how good it is. I haven't really driven a lot with triple monitors, or actually any, even though I bought these triple monitors, but they've been very useful otherwise. So if you want the video on that, just comment down below. Otherwise, we'll have to see, because it doesn't seem like an Automobilista 2 update might be coming anytime soon. But if you want me to theorize on the next update, even though maybe that can be a bit like on the fence, just comment down below anything. But until then, I've been Racing Legend, you've been my amazing viewers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!